Yes, hello and welcome folks. It's Chris here from the Ministry of Dice, otherwise known online as the True Mr. 6, and as you can see on the screen there, today I'm going to talk about 10 Dice Masters cards with thematic game texts. Now, there's no particular, I've not done it like in a top 10 ranking or anything. These are just 10 cards that recently I've noticed, oh, that's quite a thematic game text. There's tons of cards with thematic game texts in the game of Dice Masters, and I'd love to hear from you folks if you've got some that you've noticed and you've gone, oh man, that is so on theme. So make sure you make your way over to the comments and let me know about any game texts that you've observed that you think are particularly thematic and on point or connected to the lore or the mythology that's influenced them around the comic book characters or the D&D characters. But these are ones that I've just been thinking about lately, and I just thought I'd sit down, throw a quick one of my presentation thingamabobs together, and share these 10 cards and explain why I think they're so thematic. So without further ado, let's crack on, shall we? First one on the list is the Doppelganger. I've got the lesser monstrosity there, but you know, any Doppelganger will do. I mean, this guy, literally, in German, means double goer. According to Wikipedia, at least. And so he copies other things. He's a second copy of a thing, so he is literally a double goer. So I don't know much about the D&D lore around Doppelganger, but certainly in the folklore mythology, this card is absolutely spot on. That's what a Doppelganger does. It copies shit, and this one copies shit. So there we go. Next on the list, we've got the Outsider, Trinity War. So if anyone's familiar with the Outsider, the very original version of the Outsider was a resurrected version of Alfred, you know, Batman's Alfred, his butler, who then became a kind of leader of an evil cabal, a villainous cabal. I think this was back in the 60s or 70s. However, this particular version is based on the new 52 Trinity War Outsider, who was a kind of mysterious evil benefactor of the secret society of villains. And so the fact that his game text is so villain-centric and also about helping you get villains out and then making them tougher to defeat as they kind of collaborate together and work together in a way that villains aren't often want to do is super thematic and absolutely spot on. This is a cracker and also a belting card to play around with, incidentally. I had loads of fun with this one back in the day. Okay, next one on the list. We've got Iron Fist, Rolling Thunder Cannon Punch. I mean, he's Iron Fist, and he does a big punch using fists. I mean, that's lovely. That's lovely in thematic. You know, you can pay X fist energy to deal X damage to target opposing character die. So what we're basically saying is as he charges up his magical Kunlun, is that right? I think that's right, Kunlun. He charges up his magic Kunlun, Spirit of Kunlun Iron Fist, and gives a big old wallop to the enemy. And that's exactly what this card does. Super, super on theme. Really ties into the lore of the Iron Fist character there. So I love this one. There's also something kind of fun and retro about the games, about the artwork that I really enjoy. So there you go. Iron Fist, super thematic game text. Okay, right, what's next? Let's see what's next on the True Mr. 6 tour of thematic game texts. We've got April. No Mere Damsel. She's a 2-cost shield. She's an ally. She's got turtle power. And that keyword says, while April is active, other turtle character dice cost 1 less to purchase. Beautifully simple in the way that it acknowledges the theme of this character. So I'm a classic 80s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles guy, but I've certainly watched some of the newer Nickelodeon version with my lad. And the general structure of an episode, or broadly speaking, the general structure of episodes is that hard-hitting, investigative journalist April, or nosy student April, depending on which version you're watching, will go rooting around in something and find a nefarious evil plot, usually with the Foot Clan at the heart of it. She'll then get on a little communicator dooply-doo or get in touch with the turtle somehow and say, come on lads, I've unravelled this evil, nefarious plot by the Foot Clan, come and help me put a stop to it. And that's exactly what this card does. She's nice and cheap, you buy her early, you get her out in the field, she gets a look at the lay of the land, and then she helps you bring the turtles in cheaper. She does exactly what she should do as their ally. My only criticism of this card, and I know many share this criticism, is why on earth isn't she a turtle affiliation herself? What's that all about? That might be one for a WTF video. Anyway, moving on. What's next on my list? We've now got Elf Thief, Lesser Harper, 2-cost mask. Now, I'm just going to put it out there. I hate this guy. I hate this guy. My partner in crime, Andy, used to play this card against me loads and used to get in the way of all my best laid plans in terms of global usage, especially as a self-confessed static field addict, or blink transmutation, as it was at that time. But he's a thief. And he thieves stuff. It's that simple. Look at that second part of his game text. When Elf Thief is fielded, you may use 1 energy from your opponent's reserve pool. So he's a sneaky, sneaky little thief who goes around nicking your spending money. Does what it says on the tin. Another example of kind of beautifully simple kind of theme coming through in the game there. Okay, what have we got next on the list? Oh, this is a recent one that Andy and I both noticed. Iceman, I'm Just Me, 4-cost bolt, and says when Iceman damages a character die, that character die cannot attack or block during the following turn. Now, if like me, you've been a long-standing X-Men fan and you've read many of the books or watched the cartoons, you'll know that one of Iceman's signature moves is to freeze his enemy in a block of ice so that they can't do anything. And that is what this card does. It freezes the opposing dice in a block of ice so it can't do anything next turn. Actually, I think this one qualifies for one of our classic kind of podcast segments around unsung heroes, because the game text there is actually really pretty janky and probably quite a lot of fun to play around with. But because the other Iceman is so attractive, it may have been a little bit overlooked. But certainly for the parameters of this video, what a lovely thematic game text. He's got ice powers, he freezes people in blocks of ice, and that is what this card does. Okay, on to the next one. I had to hustle up a bit of help from my brother, who's a Dungeons & Dragons fan, to help me understand why this one was so thematic. But we got Silgar, Innocent Fish. When Silgar is KO'd by combat damage, you may prep a Xanathar from your use pile. And then his burst phase says, if Silgar is KO'd by combat damage while Xanathar is active, deal 5 damage to target opponent. Now, as I understand it, Xanathar the Beholder is like a big kind of crime lord who lives in the dungeons of Waterdeep. He runs this big network, this gang network. He believes that all life beyond his own isn't worth anything. He just wants to enslave all of the living beings. But the one living being that he cares for above all else and is completely against type is his goldfish. And therefore, this card is absolute spot-on game text. As I understand it from my brother as well, there's a whole thing about the fish keeps dying, and all the kind of gang members in his little empire, in his little dungeon empire, they panic and rush to try and replace the goldfish before Xanathar notices. And so, actually, there's been many Silgards over the years. Xanathar just hasn't realised. At least according to our kid. So there you go. But yeah, super kind of thematically tied into the idea that this is the one creature on the planet that Xanathar loves, cares for, and believes has value compared to his aims of enslaving all other living beings. And so this one ties neatly into Xanathar and comes with a disadvantage if anything happens to him. Love it. Okay, what's next on the list? We've got The Rock, Know Your Role. And again, I had to recruit a little bit of help to understand why this one was such a thematic game text. But he's got Intimidate, and it says you may intimidate twice when you field The Rock. So I'm going to turn over to member of the ministry, Bodhi here, wrestling knowledge master in the Dice Masters community, and I'm going to quote him directly. I hope you don't mind, Bodhi. He said, he has the perfect ability for his subtitle. He has Intimidate and can use it twice. So your opponents better know their role and get out of the way of the Rock. The Rock is very intimidating. He can punk you out on the mic just as well as lay the smacketh down too. I'm quoting verbatim there. He did use the word smacketh. He is touted as one of, if not the best ever on the microphone. Multiple-time champion and huge megastar. So that kind of double intimidate there is reflective of the fact that if you put the microphone in the Rock's hand, he's going to be messing with your head, and he's going to make you realise before you even get down to actually wrestling that he's won the game. Won the game? Won the match? They say match in wrestling, they say game in Dice Masters. You know what's going on there. So there you go. Rock, Know Your Role. He is a thematic game text from the WWE campaign box, according to basically the most qualified expert I know in the realms of WWE. Okay, moving on. What else have I got on the list? Let's see. This is the Batarang now. What goes around comes around. 2-cost bolt, deal 3 damage to target villain character, and has the boomerang keyword, which means after using this die, roll it. If you roll an action face, add it to your prep area. So super thematic this. The Batarang, I mean, it's been with Batman since that very first publication in the 40s, and it is his chosen tool for walloping villains. You know, conking them out and getting them out of his face. But in fact, as you can see there, while he's riding around on his bat cycle, he's throwing it. You know, there's probably a Riddler or a Penguin, kind of from our perspective over here, about to receive that Batarang to the forehead. So it deals 3 damage to villain character die, because that's how Batman uses it. And it's a Batarang, and so they're giving it the boomerang game text. It comes back around. Absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. I love this card. I used to use it a great deal in that little window of time in the meta where Shriek was about, but before that filthy Scarlet Witch came along. So yeah, tremendously on theme, and I love it to bits. And it's a bolt. It's a bolt as well to kind of reflect the fact that it's a shock. So there we go, Batarang. And then finally, the last one on my thematic game text list. Here we go. I know she's super popular with some and super unpopular with others. We've got Hope Summers, Pluripotent Echopraxia. When fielded, choose an X-Men character card on your team, replacing all previous choices. Hope Summers gains that character's text box in addition to her own. She retains that text box until she is fielded again, even if she is no longer active. So here you go. Here's Hope Summers, Pluripotent Echopraxia. That's kind of X-Men science speak. I think it probably came from a speech bubble out of Beast or Dr. Nemesis at some point, which describes her ability to copy and mimic other mutant powers, which is exactly what this card does. It copies other mutant powers. It is almost word for word a game reflection on what that character's abilities are in the comic book lore. You couldn't be any more thematic than that. Well, there we are then, boys and girls. That concludes my 10 cards with thematic game texts. Like I said in the intro, these are just cards that have caught my eye or I've been thinking about, or I've noticed before and gone, oh, I love the theme around that. But there's certainly loads more. So please do get in touch. Drop a comment below. Let me know about what your favourite thematic cards are and why. You know, give me the lore, give me the mythology that explains the thematic nature of that game text. Otherwise, on the screen, off to the right in just a moment, you'll have 2 videos that the YouTube algorithmic doobly-doo thinks that you might enjoy watching. So I can't recommend enough. Why not give one of those a try if you've got a few more minutes now? Give us a like and subscribe. But in the meantime, I'll see you in a video or on a podcast somewhere soon. Thanks for watching, folks.